Hey, it's Tara with Reiki on the Run, and today I want to talk about how fear controls us. And now this could be controlled by other people, how they use fear to control us, or how we control ourselves with fear, not even realizing it, self-inflicted issues. I think we all know that fear is the lowest vibration you can possibly be in. We know it causes us to be in fight or flight. Most of the time without realizing it. I think that we know all the stress that it causes and that it can cause disease, because stress is a cause of disease. But I don't think a lot of us understand, I didn't for a long time, how fear actually controls us. So that's what I want to talk about today. Several ways that you might not realize that fear is controlling you. And it's good to get out of these things, because the last thing you want to do is be controlled by fear and having that hinder your life and not being able to live the best life. So the first thing I want to talk about is how fear isn't real. I used to hear that all the time, and it would drive me nuts, because I'm like, bullshit, it's real, I feel it, I'm freaked out, don't tell me it's not real. But it's not. You hear the acronym sometimes, the false evidence appearing real. It's something that you are scared of. It's something you imagine happening. When you are in fear of something, it's not actually happening. It's in your imagination, it's in your mind thinking it might happen. And that is what becomes your fear. You're scared, imagining something might happen. And that keeps you in that state, in that fight or flight state. And so it starts when you're young. Parents do it. Parents will punish you. They will threaten you with punishment, threaten you with taking things away, things like that. So you get scared, oh my gosh, if I don't do this thing, this other thing is going to happen. So it starts real young, like I said, with parents, and the reason they do it is because it works. If you tell your kid, oh, you're not going to get to go to that party if you don't have your room clean, they're going to clean their room because they want to do that thing, and they're scared that you will go through with your punishment. So that's where it starts young, your fear of what your parents are going to take away from you, what they're going to do. Another thing, and this is a self-inflicted fear problem, is fear of failure. A lot of times we won't follow our dreams, we won't open our business, we won't start our YouTube channel, we won't do all these things that we might want to do because we fear the failure of it. We worry that it won't work out, and that fear of failing is greater than our desire or our idea that we can succeed. And so it keeps us from doing a lot of things, and not just, in starting a business or jobs, but lots of things. Maybe asking somebody out that you want to, or the fear of rejection. Lots of things that we will not do because we just have this fear that it's not going to work out. Well, guess what? If you don't do it, it's definitely not going to work out. So that's not a viable thing to worry about. Obviously it's a good idea. You think about how many restaurants fail, and like the 90% of restaurants fail. I don't think that should be a reason not to open one, but I think it's good to have an informed decision before you do things. Don't just blatantly go run out and do things because, I'm not going to be in fear. But to not do things, most things, because your fear of failure is not a good idea. The next one I have is fear of other people's opinions and judgments. And this one is huge. I think this starts really young and continues on through a lot of people through their entire lives. You, without realizing, even what you wear. You might think as you're going out with friends, oh, what are they going to think if I wear this? I better wear this. Does this look okay? You might think driving your old 90s Toyota is fabulous and it runs well, but your friends and other people, date prospects, things like that, what are they going to think? And so you'll put yourself out by buying a new car and having that payment that maybe you can't afford, because you are worried about others' judgments and what they're going to think about you. And that's with, a lot of things, like I said, what you wear, what you buy, where you live, all those things. We can be controlled in our own actions because we're worried about what other people are going to think about us and how they're going to judge us. Another one is, in a way that we're controlled by others, is the news. The news completely uses fear to control us. There's a thing called negativity bias, where we are psychologically more apt to, and this has been scientifically proven, we're more apt to respond to negative stimuli. We dwell on the negativity more. I mean, if you can have something so great, maybe your review at work is really, really great, but then there's this one thing that they say that you could do better, and that's what you dwell on. And you will continue to dwell on that. And so that's a thing that we do. That's a negativity bias. And so the news will use that because we pay attention more to the negative. We have a stronger reaction to the negative. And it's actually been proven that people will think things are true more often because it's negative, which is an interesting fact. But the news will do that by, they need to sell advertising and keep you engaged. And that's how they can do that, by instilling fear in you. If they only show you the fear side of things, you might see a good story and think, oh, that's nice, but it's not something you'll remember later. It's not something you'll bring up at work later. It's not going to have that same reaction. So the news will talk more about fear constantly. I haven't watched the news in years, but every time I come across it, if I'm in a store or something that has it on, it just cracks me up because it's just the words they use. It's insane. It's all about fear. And I won't even get into the, conspiracy theory rabbit hole about who owns most news stations and why they direct the fear in the way that they do. If you want to go down that rabbit hole on your own, you can, but that's another instance of us being controlled by fear. And another one is relationships. We can control our own relationships. We control ourselves. A lot of times we will base our current relationships on some in the past. Maybe if we lost a friendship due to saying something outspoken that we thought we could say and it cost us our friendship, we might be afraid to speak up in the future with our friendships, and it'll control what we say and what we think and how we act around people. Maybe in a romantic relationship, maybe you've been cheated on, and to my knowledge, I've never been cheated on, but I had mostly good relationships. I was young and fought and things like that, but I had one really major, big, bad relationship, and now I kind of will tend to think, oh, I'm so scared that's going to happen again, even though I had plenty of great relationships. But that's something that, especially I think it would be even tougher if someone had been cheated on. You might be so afraid that you're going to be cheated on again. Either you won't get in another relationship, or you will kind of expect the worst out of the person that you're with and not really give them that chance, and just it will control how your relationship goes. Because if you're constantly accusing them, even if it's not verbally, if it's in your mind, if you're just thinking, oh, I bet they like someone else, I bet they're cheating on me, that is controlling yourself. That is the fear ruining your relationship, taking control of your relationship and not letting it blossom into what it could be because of this fear you have. This person isn't cheating on you that you know of. That's not a fact. You're letting the past control you and your actions, and that's just another way that fear keeps us gripped and not living our best life and enjoying our lives. And so one last thing I want to say about that is a lot of times people will create a fear to provide a solution. So I remember listening to commercials a long time ago when I watched TV as a kid, and there'd be this commercial about some solution for your hair to make your hair grow in case you're balding, and they made it sound like it was the end of the world if you were balding, and oh no, you can't be bald, what are other people going to think, and creating all these situations. And so they're creating this fear into you, which honestly I think bald men are sexy. So I think it's insane that they would create this fear in you that, oh, if you have bald hair, there's something wrong with you and you're not going to be okay. So you need to take this potion that I'm selling to you, and that's going to fix all your problems, and you won't end up in these situations where nobody likes you. You know what I mean? Things like that. So a lot of times, specifically with products that people want to sell, they will create fear to provide a solution. And, that happens in the news, that happens. Politics is a big one that goes down the rabbit trail too, of playing on your fears, on creating a problem to provide a solution so that you need them, maybe amplifying situations that are there but aren't as big as they make them seem so that they can get elected. Also, when they create laws to take away your freedoms, they'll amplify these ideas, especially when it comes to security. People just want to feel secure, and if they amplify this idea that you are not safe, then you're going to want to vote for them. You're going to want to vote for these laws that are going to keep you safe. So things like that. So these are all ways that we are controlled by fear. Sure, there's a ton more, but those are the main ones that I was thinking of. And I just have a couple of ways that you can kind of shift that focus, shift that energy, and that's one of them, to shift that focus and shift that energy. If you haven't, that makes me think of my workbooks. If you haven't checked out my workbooks, check them out, because it's exactly what that does. It teaches you how to shift your focus. It gives you daily things you can do every day, checklists, check them off, to shift your energy. Because once that momentum is going, like that negativity bias, you are in that momentum, you're in that dwelling on the negativity, and that's just what you do. That's what you just tend to do, and you do the same thing over and over every day. And so you want to shift your energy. So check out my workbooks if you haven't before. They're always listed down below. But anyway, so one way to get out of this fear and stop letting it control you is to shift your energy, and shift that momentum and your focus, and try to dwell on the positive. It's so easy to pick out the one negative thing, like I mentioned earlier about maybe a job review. Pick out that one negative thing and just dwell on it, and just keep that alive and in your energy. So try to dwell on the good things. Think about some good things that have happened, and continue just keep focusing on them, and thinking, wow, that was such a great thing that happened, and that's going to shift your energy, and that's going to keep you out of that fear. Because when you're in fear, man, you can't be in love, you can't be in anything else. That is the lowest vibration you can possibly be in. And when you understand that we're creating our lives by attracting what we're emitting, if you're sitting in that fear too much, you're going to keep getting situations like that. So another thing is to get away from gossipers and complainers. If you have friends that all they like to do is talk shit about other people, if you aren't able to change the subject, stop hanging out with them. Same with people who complain all the time. I know things happen, and it's what you do with your friends sometimes, is to say, man, this is what happened, this stinks. But when you find someone who's constantly complaining about everything, and maybe you're that person and maybe you didn't realize it. I definitely was for a long time without realizing it. So get away from the gossipers and the complainers. And the last thing I have, definitely turn the news off. Man, if you are still listening to the news, if you're still reading the news, try it. Take a month off. Take a month off the news. The first week you'll be kind of twitchy and feel like you're uninformed and that you're missing your friend. But then the next few weeks will be extremely freeing, and it'll probably be one of the best experiences of your life, because when you're not having that fear shoved down your throat, and honestly, ever since I stopped listening to the news, I think my biggest fear was that I wouldn't be informed and I wouldn't know what was going on, and I'd be missing out on something, and people would think I was an idiot. And honestly, I don't miss out on anything. There's nothing, it has made no difference in my life whatsoever from not listening to the news, except in a positive ways, that I'm not constantly sitting and living in fear. I think the worst thing would be I'm not going to know it's going to rain that day, and I might have to run somewhere in the rain, which is fine. Anyway, that's it. That's all I have. I hope this helps. It's been such an eye-opener for me to realize that not only do others control me with fear, but I was controlling myself with fear, and that I don't have to live like that. So I hope you're all doing well, and if nobody's told you today, I love you very much, and I will talk to you soon.